everyone, Amanda here. So today I want to talk about buttons. I was watching a video by a lovely Yorkshire crafter the other day called Camilla Crafts. I'll leave a link in the description box below, and she was decoupaging buttons to alter them to suit herself, to make them pretty. And I thought, what a great idea, but the reason I don't use buttons an awful lot in my journaling, even though you can decoupage them and make them pretty, I find them just a little bit too bulky. They can be a little bit two-dimensional for me. So I thought, how can I get pretty buttons without having to have the bulk? And I've come up with a solution, and I've made my own buttons. I've made my own buttons in 3 different ways. I'm going to show you each of the 3 ways. They're pretty quick to make, and I'm just going to quickly show you how you can use these in your journal making or your card making or your general crafting. So what I've done is I've made quite a few handmade buttons here. We've got a lovely matching set of 6 there that I've added to this vintage style button card. I've added some edge tape. I've even added a little bit of thread there for authenticity, because sometimes when you used to buy the buttons, they'd give you the thread as well. So that would just slip inside a journal pocket, you know, as a cute piece of ephemera. And then this one here, again, I've made it look like it's been used, and these are smaller. I've coated them with iridescent medium to make them look a bit shiny, maybe, you know, kind of a little bit like mother of pearl. And then I've just added some ephemera there. You could tuck further things there, and again slide it inside a journal for ephemera. And then the other thing that I did with my handmade buttons was made a cluster. Really pretty, just out of scraps, literally off of my desk, and backed with just a little bit of paper that I've been trimming off from my journal pages earlier on in the day, and layered up with little bits of ripped up ephemera, a little bit of lace, a butterfly. Got to have a butterfly, and then I've added one of my buttons that I've added some thread to the middle. And little clusters are very popular in journal making. You can put a paper clip on the back and have it as a decorative clip. You can just glue it to the side of a page for decoration. You can glue it just a small amount so that you can then tuck things. You can add it to things like this, or journal cards, or pockets, or tucks, and that's what you do with your clusters. So handmade buttons are very useful in your journal making or general crafting. So I'm going to show you how I've made these 3 different types. Now, I do have 2 little dies for buttons, really useful. So I have used these, but I've also made my own in case people don't have dies. Okay, so what I've got is 3 pieces of cardstock. Alright, so 1 we're going to decoupage. And in fact, we don't need 3. 1 we're going to decoupage, 1 we're going to stamp. So let's start with the stamping, because that's the easiest. We can get that done and dusted in absolutely no time. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp, and I'm just going to randomly stamp all over to just give myself a little background. Okay, varying pressures, sometimes light, sometimes dark. Alright. Just cover it. Cover the whole entire thing. There we go, that's that one done. How easy is that? Set that to one side to dry. So that's for these buttons here. So for these here, these are decoupage, so you get yourself a napkin. And instead of decoupaging individual buttons, you can decoupage a piece of card and then make your buttons from the decoupaged card. It's just a little bit easier. Alright, so I'll cut myself a strip of this beautiful napkin that I've had gifted. Okay, let me just move my buttons out of the way. Remove the backing. Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it isn't. Okay. There we go, that's an easy one. And then just get my matte medium, it's actually gel medium is this one, and a thin layer on the cardstock all over. Okay, all over. You don't have to soak it, but you need a decent layer so that your napkin will adhere nicely. Okay, and you can use scrap card or the back of cereal boxes or whatever you like. It is nicer if you've got a white background to start with. Okay, then just lay your napkin over the top. Oops, that's about as straight as, well, it ain't. Okay, it'll do. I'm only demonstrating. And then gently go over the top with more of the gel medium, very carefully so you don't rip it, although if you do, it doesn't really matter, and just gently smooth it out. Okay, and I've picked one with a very busy pattern on purpose so that it doesn't matter where I make my buttons from, every inch is going to have a bit of a pattern on. Okay, just make sure that that's all nicely down. Okay, and then I'll just need to quickly dry that off. Alright, with my heat gun. It doesn't make a lot of noise, this one, so it's not too bad. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use either a 1 inch or a 3/4 inch circle punch. Now if you don't have circle punches, you might have circle dies. If you don't have circle dies, draw around a penny, you know, or a coin, and if you're very carefully, use small pointy scissors without bits of washi tape on. Small pointy scissors, and go slowly. There's no reason that you can't cut out a circle if you draw around it, and you would draw your circle, you know, on the back and cut around it, and then, you know, there's nothing showing once you've finished. Right, very easy. Now what I do when I'm making buttons, what I've done beforehand is I have punched 2 from scrap card. Okay, and what I do is I will make myself a little template of where the holes are going to go. So I'll fold it in half and find the middle and draw a line, and then I will make small marks at equal distance using a ruler. So if we get a ruler here, this is a 1 inch one, so there's the 1 inch. So I've gone at about 1, 2, 3 3/8 from each side, made a little mark and punched a hole. Now I have this, which is a 1/16 of an inch hole punch, which makes those lovely holes. If you don't have that, you can use just a pokey tool. You want one like this that's sharp at the top and then goes a bit thicker there, so that once you've gone through and made the hole, you then continue pushing and you'll get a nice wider circle. And you also want to do that using a foam mat. Okay, I will show you the process. So I use this template, and then what I do, so that's for the smaller size, that's 3/4 of an inch, and that's 1 inch. So then what I do, I'm going to make 3/4 of an inch because that's my favourite size. I then go with my punch. I mean, you can home in on images, specific images, but if you're using a generic napkin that's quite busy like mine, it doesn't really matter where you punch, you're going to get a nice image. Okay, so then I go on the back with my template and a pencil, make little marks where the hole is. Okay, or you can do it by eye if you like. My eyes are wonky, so I don't try not to do a right lot by my wonky eye. So then I either use my 1/16 of an inch little singular hole punch. I got this quite a long time ago from Stampin' Up, but I'm absolutely convinced that if you look on Amazon, you will find a 1/16 of an inch hole punch. Okay, so that's done with that. Okay, I'll do the second one with the pokey tool to show you. So, okay, and it doesn't matter if it's not 100% perfect. Like I say, nothing needs to be perfect in crafting. Alright, so if those holes aren't perfect, in Victorian times or pre-Victorian times, buttons weren't perfect because they were handmade, and all those holes were handmade, so they weren't made by machinery. So there would be a margin of error in things because they were handmade. Okay, so don't worry about it. You just, if it's a bit wonky, you're just being authentic. Alright, so here's how I do it with my poker tool. So I still use my little template or my ruler. If you make a template, you see, it saves you getting your ruler out for every single button. It's much quicker. Alright, so then if I'm using my poker tool, I've got my little marks on the back there. So I prod the hole on the back gently, okay? Yeah, and then I'll go and I'll turn it over and I'll go back through and go a bit deeper with the pokey tool so that some of that fatter part there goes through. Alright, it just gives you a nicer circular hole, okay? So that you can do it either way. Doesn't matter if you don't have the same tools as me, you can still come up with the same result. Then what I do is I will ink them because they are vintage style. Disclaimer, they're not real vintage. Ink all the way around with a little bit of Victorian, not Victorian, vintage photo. Okay, and then you've got some beautiful vintage looking buttons without the bulk. Now if you want them a little bit more sturdy, you can layer up with a plain piece of cardstock underneath and punch the holes in the same place. That will make them more sturdy if you feel you need to. So that answers that question. Okay, so that's the first way. So that's decoupage. Okay, using bits of napkin. So the next way here, we've got our stamped cardstock. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to punch out. I'm going to do, are they 1-inch ones? Now these ones were cut with a die, so they've got 4 holes. So that's this die here. This is an X-cut die. It's a very old X-cut, and it's like everything to do with haberdashery. I'll do 1-inch. Have I got a 1-inch? Yes, I have. So again, just punch your circles out or draw around your coin or whatever. Then get your template. I've made a template for the larger size as well. Do your little markies, and then whichever way you're using to punch, whether it's one of these or whether you're just using a pokey tool, go and put your doodah at your holes in. Okay, so you've got nice spaced holes, and then again you just want to distress. Now if you want a shine to them, go and wait while all of that ink's dry, and then go over the top with either, you can use your gel matte medium or you can use acrylic gloss. So do I have one? Let's have a look. I do. Just one moment. So this is an acrylic wax, I think. I'll try and get it without completely destroying my desk. That's an acrylic wax. So if you paint that over, that will seal it and it'll give it a small, kind of a shimmer. Not a shimmer, like a wax look. Or obviously, glossy accents. I'm going to leave mine just plain. So there we go. So that's that one. And where's all the others that I made? There they are. So here's the big pile of the 4 ones. So those were made with a die, and that's mine. Use it a bigger one with just 2 holes. So there's different ways of doing them. Okay, buttons are falling all on the floor now. I'm losing the plot. And then the final way is the most easiest way in the world. Get out your scrapbooking papers. Who doesn't have loads of scrapbooking papers that they just don't even use? Because I do. Or offcuts from cards or offcuts from making journaling cards. Maybe you've got some collage masterboard offcuts in your scrapbox. Go and have a look what you've got. And again, you just do the same process, and you get in your punch and you're looking for where it's pretty, and you're punching it out. You're turning it over. This is double-sided, so I could use either. Turning it over, you put your little marks from your template again. and you punch your holes. Okay, so that one there, turn it around. I mean, you can do it by eye. Done that one by eye, and that's not bad. You know, you don't have to spend time making measurements. You can just do it by eye, and probably after you've done one or two, they're going to be pretty perfect. And then if you ink around the edges, it just gives a little bit of definition, because these are flatter than obviously using real buttons. It gives you a little bit of definition. Okay, and then obviously you can have them as they are, or you can thread some twine or some embroidery thread or crochet thread through, tie it in a bow, or just thread it through and sew it onto something. Sew it onto the side of a page, sew it onto a cluster, do what you like. So there we've got scrapbooking pages buttons, we've got decoupage napkin buttons, and we've got stamped cardstock buttons, and we've turned them into these projects. So there you go. Go and have some fun with buttons. I hope that's helped. I'd like to say thank you to Camille. Is it Camila? Camila. I'm terrible with names, honestly. I'm shocking. I'm going to put a link in the description box below to her channel, because it was her video that made me start thinking about buttons. So there you go. I hope that's helped. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.